All right, guys, so I have 10 pounds. I said yes, 10 pounds of comic books sent to me by a YouTube viewer named Anthony. We're Facebook friends. We talk on Messenger every now and then, and from what I've understood, he talks to a few other YouTubers and stuff. But Anthony has started to refine his comic book collection. He's getting rid of things. He's CGCing a few things, and he's sort of just kind of like cleaning house and refining. So he sent a box, and he sent me a message after I got this saying he's probably sending another box. So thank you, Anthony. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the random act of kindness here that old Anthony has sent. This is a box of Superman goodness, more or less, right? We'll just put it that way, right? And I was real impressed with what's in here. And some of these books I can talk about, and some I can't because I don't know them. But one of the first things he sent that really impressed me, because I love this series, and I can't believe it came out 20 years ago because it's as fresh as it was when it first came out back in the day. Right, but it's Justice League The Nail. 3-issue Elseworlds story by Alan Davis, written and drawn by him. And the whole premise of this is that due to a nail getting in the tire of Mon Pa Kent's tire, when Superman's rocket landed on Earth, they never found him. And this is a world where the superheroes came up without Superman. And where was Superman during all this? Well, Alan Davis came up with a very practical and ingenious way to explain how Kal-El grew up without anybody knowing about him or looking for him or being suspicious and stuff, right? But it is so full of just, I mean, the thing is so fresh, and Alan Davis threw in so much stuff in there in that book, that the way that it flowed and breathed and, like I said, stayed fresh is just amazing. He also sent me 2 issues, number 1 and 3 of the sequel, Another Nail, that came out. And that's kind of why I mentioned Superman, because, you know, it's a bit of a spoiler. It's 20-year-old miniseries and stuff, right? And this one right here, when it actually came to being a sequel, written-wise, a little weak. But the art in here, Alan Davis just kind of turned it all the way up there, man. And he threw in a ton of stuff in here. So it's beautifully drawn. A lot of great characters in it. For me, he stuck OMAC in here. You just have to read it and see what happened. But this is a great series. I highly recommend A Nail and Another Nail. And I think there's a trade out there where they collect both miniseries, right? It comes to 6 issues. Alan Davis did quite a bit of little miniseries here and there for DC that were just fantastic. And I think he did a few things for Marvel. Superboy's Legion, the Clandestine, yes, things like that. All right, always pick these up to give them a home. He sent The Golden Age by James Robinson, number 1. This was a 4-issue miniseries that is a classic. It should be in everybody's collection. It's also by Paul Smith, but this is book 1 of 4. Which is just fantastic. If you're an All-Star Squadron fan, Starman fan, JSA fan, this was supposed to be an Elseworlds story, but James Robinson and the JSA pulled from it for Starman and a couple series and stuff back then. It was just fantastic. The next thing that he sent that was just blew me away on this one, because I've been looking for this for a decent price, and I either find them not for a decent price or they're really beat up and stuff. Is an Elseworlds story, three issues by John Francis Moore and Kerwin Dwyer. Hilary Barta is Superman, the Dark Side, right? This is the whole idea of Superman didn't land on Earth when Krypton blew up. He landed on Apokolips and was raised on Apokolips, right? This thing is just fantastic. I've, it's really, it's the whole thing that if you are a Jack Kirby or an Apocalypse fan, it's definitely something to pick up. But not the first time that Superman was a soldier for Apocalypse, I'll just tell you that. But this Elseworld story, we get to really go places with it. So, yeah, I've been looking for this. You know, I usually, maybe I don't find them complete. If I don't think about it, number 3 was really the rough one to get. The other series that I'm trying to collect with this was a mini-series that came out in the 90s that Mike Mignola wrote, of Hellboy fame. I have 1 issue of it, and it was a prestige format series, and it was called The Doom That Came to Gotham. And it was sort of supposed to be a sequel to Gotham by Gaslight, where you had Batman in Victorian times going against Jack the Ripper, who had come to Gotham. but it had a lot of H.P. Lovecraft in it or something. So I'm always kind of keeping an eye out for that, and Superman: The Dark Side, which I just cannot believe I have. Thank you, Anthony. Okay, so we have a little one-shot crossover event, Titans Young Justice Graduation Day, Judd Yenick and stuff. I think this helped lead into, I think this helped, if I remember right, this helped lead into The Outsiders coming back that Judd Winnick was over. And it's always fun, man, if you're always a Titans fan. But, you know, with Titans and Young Justice, you know, it's new Titans versus old Titans is what it comes down to. That's really cool. All right. A series that I heard about when it came out, but I never got around to getting it. And there's 2 issues in here, book 2 and 3. Superman's Strength. Can't, like I said, some of these I can't talk about, but yeah, I just never had the opportunity to really get these. Beautiful Alex Ross covers. McLeod, but I don't know. I don't know a thing about this, but the covers are gorgeous. Now, I flipped through this one. I went down and spent the night with some of my friends. There was a party going on, and I just stayed with them. But Anderson and I went through some of these books when I was down there, and this is something that came out around 2001. This is J.M. DeMintes or something like that. DeMintes? Yeah. Anyway, but the whole idea is that this is called Superman, Where's Thy Sting? I flipped through it. I'm really interested in this one shot because basically the page I read was Superman watching Lois die and talking about death, and supposedly death comes for Superman. Very existential from what I read. So this is going to be a curious read. This is actually going to go on the top of the stack for me to read. Another one that I just have no idea about, Superman Y2K. Tomorrow Dies Today. So, you know, playing around with the whole idea of the Y2K disaster that everybody's predicting in 1999 when we went into the new millennium. So that should be fun. This is by, looks like it's Joe Kelly, Jackson Geis. Joe Kelly is a great writer. Jackson Geis, I love his stuff, going back to the 80s. So some good talent on that. Maybe they'll be entertaining. Chris Claremont jumps on there. This was a, 4-issue miniseries. Here's part 4, but this is Whom Gods Destroy. So, yeah, he took Superman and Wonder Woman and wrote this little story here. I think I had these, but I may need this issue. So that's one there. A couple of more one-shots in here. 1 or 2 of these I've actually read and really liked. We have Graham Nolan and Chuck Dixon. Those guys are a great team. The guys that brought us Bane. Chuck Dixon's, you know, sort of blackballed, whether they admit it or not, from some comic book companies. But anyway, Superman, the Odyssey one-shot, I'll be real interested in that because it's Chuck Dixon. And then we have Superman, A Nation Divided by Roger Stern, so I know this is going to be good. Roger Stern is a very good, underrated writer. Did my favorite Avengers run when I was growing up. But anyway, we have A Nation Divided, so we have Superman in the Civil War, the American Civil War. And then we have Howard Chaykin and Gil Kane. I've read this. I enjoyed it, but there's been a great disaster. I think a lot of the heroes lost their powers or something, if I remember right. But it's Gil Kane and Howard Chaykin giving us a little post-apocalyptic Superman with some superheroes and stuff. I mean, there's one of my favorite books is by Andre Norton. It's called Starman's Son. It was published in the 50s, and it takes place in a post-apocalyptic world. And the house cats have grown to the size of, like, tigers and things like that, and they're smart. And, you know, Starman's Son, the star of the book and stuff, has one for him. Goes out and hunts for them and brings food back and things like that. They're very loyal. And when I saw that, I was just sort of like, somebody's been reading some Andre Norton. I don't know the story behind the artist that did this, but this thing looks beautiful. But we have Shogun of Steel, JLA. Looks like it's got a very, very, it's Asian influenced. So I'll be interested to see this. Sadly, Tim Anderson told me something despicable happened with the artist where he was busted and maybe put in jail for a few things. So kind of might read that and then find out what's going on. Okay, now this right here, there was a series of one-shots that came out years ago. I don't know. It seems like it was like the 2000s. I don't know. But they took some superheroes and some teams, and they put them under the Real Worlds banner, and they put a big twist on these characters of them existing in the real world. This is by Garcia Lopez, and I was going to pick it up, but I heard about the plot in it, so I didn't really track them down. And apparently, the Superman S on this guy's chest is put on him in prison, like forced on him, because basically he's in prison, and I heard there was like some terrible, terrible things done to this guy in prison. So now that I have it, I will read it and just sit there and hope I don't have the experience I had when I watched Deliverance. All right, the Superman monster, DNA, Dan Abnett, Andy Lanning comes in there, and it's got my favorite inker of all time, Tom Palmer, on it. The Superman monster. Looks like we're going to be taking a Frankenstein approach, Frankenstein's monster approach to in this book to it. So with Danny Abnett and Andy Lanning writing it, that should be really good. They were very accomplished. No idea what this is, but it's called Profits So Far, Superman Incorporated, 1999 Annual Report. So I guess we have like a one-shot here where Superman is a franchise. I mean, if we can have Batman Incorporated, why can't we have Superman? Always will have to pick these up all day long. This is, I think it's 2 and 4, parts 2 and 4 of a 4-issue miniseries. This is way up high as one of my favorite Superman stories, but it is possibly my favorite work by Kurt Busiek. And it's called Superman's Secret Origins. In the 80s, during the Crisis on Infinite Earth, and DC Comics Presents number 86, which is a key issue, we got the debut of Superboy Prime. The multiverse was going on, but Earth Prime was our world, the real world. And there ends up being a little bit of a Superman on here. Well, Kurt Busiek turned it way up, and he wrote this as in the real world, where Superman does exist as a comic book and things like that. And we see this guy kind of grow up with some powers. I did a review of this years ago, so there's a Superman Secret Identity review where I go over the whole series already up, So I'm pretty sure you could just kind of click, you can type in Howler Mouse, Superman Secret Identity, who knows, okay? Now, I gave up on this. I may have gotten rid of the first issue a couple years ago, but I gave up trying to find this because it was just obscure around here. And I didn't want to, like, order online and get on eBay and stuff, right? But we're back to J.M. DeMantis. I got to find out how to say his name, because we were saying J.M. DeMantis for so long, my mouth won't work any other way with this. But anyway, we have the Kansas sightings. This is a 2-issue prestige format where we play around with the concept of alien abductions, the X-Files styles, what I remember stuff. It's been years since I read the first issue. But, they play around with the concept of the, aliens abducting Earthlings or something, and we get the gray, big-eyed aliens, just like in X-Files. So it's kind of cool going tabloid with it. Now, this was a joy to find. Because I think I have seen this before and never picked it up. But it's a 2-issue prestige format series. I don't know who is on this. But it's called JLA, Age of Wonder. Of course, it's an Elseworlds, right? But right here, is this the second issue? It's a set of 1 and 2 that he picked up. Let me get this off of here. Get the sticker off, right? But right here, we see, it looks like it's a steampunk take on the Justice League of America. But my goodness, who is that? Is that Starman? Do we have a cyberpunk Starman who fits right in there? So if it's a Starman appearance, this must be mine. So thank you, Anthony. Nailed it with that one. That was a great find. I've read these next two, and I'll give it another shot because it's Roy Thomas, but they take Elseworlds' approach of the Justice League of America if they were, I guess, created on the island of Dr. Maru. So this should be really cool. Roy Thomas is well-read, ex-literary teacher, and apparently he's a great adaptation. And JLA, Act of God. Now, I want to end this with, like, kind of laughing about this. Comic book collectors out there, you'll probably want to laugh with me because I'm sure we all had that book. But the JLA, Act of God, but this is 3 issues. And I can never find the other 2. I always find a number 1. And Anthony mailed me another number 1. So that's kind of funny, man. I appreciate that. There's no way he knew. So thank you, Anthony. Thanks a lot, guys. Always great. Like, subscribe, share the video. Love the sense of community. Anthony, looking forward to the next package, and good luck with all the CGC stuff, and hit me up on Messenger. All right, later, guys.